Namaste and welcome to another episode of the Dharma podcast. In today's episode, we will narrate the sad and the tragic story of how the so-called Dravidian movement ruined the proud Hindu heritage of Tamil Nadu and literally handed it over, gifted it to the global Christian conversion machine. With that, let's begin. Among all Indian states, Tamil Nadu became the first one to completely swallow the missionary and the colonial propaganda, also known as the Aryan invasion theory, in the closing decades of the 19th century. But to be more specific, a good section of the Tamil Hindu society in those days uncritically digested something called an invented hoax of fraud called the pure Dravidian race, and then after digesting this fraud, it gave it an ideological and a political shape and a narrative which was primarily based on the alleged linguistic and racial separateness of Tamil. This story is a dark journey of a dangerous descent into anti-Hindu trends and power which are currently ruling the state of Tamil Nadu. And this journey of the Dravidian ideology is also a journey of progressive and a comprehensive destruction of almost all areas of the original Tamil Hindu culture and heritage, which I will explain later in this episode. But in general, what began as linguistic identity separateness over a period of time slowly transformed into racial separatism, and eventually today it has been transformed into Christian religious separatism in Tamil Nadu. And the same thing has also occurred in the northeast, but in a different way. It is also equally true that till date Tamil Nadu has proved to be a much harder nut to crack on the part of the Christian missionaries as compared to the northeast. In reality, the global church and the conversion machinery's return on investment in Christianizing Tamil Nadu is quite pathetic, given the fact that they have invested nearly 3 or 3.5 centuries into this effort at converting Hindus in Tamil Nadu into Christians. But as hard as a nut was, the nut did indeed crack eventually. And I've mentioned this point, in several interviews and on other episodes on the Dharma podcast, but I never get tired of repeating it. This is the line: the kiss of Christ is fatal to entire civilizations because it disarms you with the facade of love and compassion and piety. And this alarming and rather widespread power that the church currently wields in Tamil Nadu is truly the victory of a man, of a Christian missionary named Bishop Robert Caldwell, who is also known as the father of Dravidianism. And if you look at the annals of Dravidian literature and all their slogans, Robert Caldwell has an exalted place. He is known as Caldwell Appa or Kaltuvel Appa. Appa means father. So, before we get to Robert Caldwell, let's travel back to the year 1836. That year, a man named Thomas Babington Macaulay, you're right, he is the same Macaulay, the infamous, notorious Macaulay Minute, and the man singularly responsible for introducing something called English education in India. This Macaulay, in 1836, he wrote a letter to his father in which he boasted about his great successes in Bengal, and I'll read out a small sample from his letter. Quote, "Our English schools are flourishing wonderfully. The effect of this education on the Hindus is prodigious. No Hindu who has received an English education ever remains sincerely attached to his religion. It is my firm belief that if our plans of education are followed up, there will not be a single idolater among the respectable classes in Bengal 30 years hence, close quote. Indeed, Macaulay was rather prophetic. And 20 years after Macaulay wrote this letter to his father, Bishop Robert Caldwell, sitting in faraway Tamil Nadu, published a book titled as follows: A Comparative Grammar of Dravidian or South Indian Family of Languages. And this is what he writes in that book. Quote, the Tamil language being probably the earliest cultivated on the Dravidian idioms, the most copious, and that which contains the largest portion and the richest variety of indubitably ancient forms. Close quote. Let's keep this in mind and proceed with this episode, because this is like a foundation for much of the work that Caldwell did. And Caldwell's book on Tamil grammar or South Indian languages of South India, his book became hugely influential, and within 1 year it ran into a reprint. And this book is still the foundation text of Tamil linguistic separatism, and this book also gave the much needed manure for the racist theories of Dravidian separatism, which grew into a massive and a gigantic poisonous tree. And finally, this Dravidian separatist ideology captured political power in Tamil Nadu in the 1960s. In the world of Dravidian ideology, like I said, Robert Caldwell is a demigod who has numerous busts and statues dedicated to him across Tamil Nadu. If that was not enough, a postage stamp was also issued in his honor by the Indian government in the year 2010. That is just 14 years from today, 14 years before. And in Tamil Nadu, it is still dangerous to subject Robert Caldwell to critical scrutiny. Several careers were destroyed, and physical violence has also been inflicted. If you look at the horrible spine-chilling stories in the past, those who dared to expose Robert Caldwell, how they suffered and how they were humiliated and they were put on the streets. But Caldwell's book also contained the following lines, and I quote, "We seem to be justified in drawing the conclusion that the Dravidian languages have remained almost unaltered for the last 2000 years, but probably also that the principal dialects that now prevail had a separate existence at the commencement of the Christian era." Close quote. Caldwell also traces the beginnings of Tamil literature to a period which is not earlier than the 10th century Common Era or CE. Now, the moment he wrote this, the moment Caldwell gave this dating, it immediately posed an enormous problem for the Dravidian champions of those days, because, among other things, this Dravidian ideology chiefly stands on the antiquity or the ancientness of the Tamil language. For example, another Dravidian ideological scholar named M.S. Purnalingam Pillai, this man dates the third Sangam to a period anywhere between 1750 BCE and to the lower limit is 100 CE. Another Dravidian scholar named M. Srinivasa Iyengar, he places this period of the third Sangam era anywhere between the 5th century BCE and the 6th century CE. Likewise, various other Dravidian scholars date the period of the third Sangam era variously from the 2nd century BCE and the 1st century Common Era. Let's keep in mind, and then let's look at a real life example of how this kind of a bizarre dating system worked during the early days and the ascent of the Dravidian ideology in all areas of life in Tamil Nadu, especially between the 1940s all the way up to the 1970s, that is a period of more than 3 decades. And to do this, let's turn to a great scholar and an eminent botanist named Dr. B.G.L. Swami. Dr. Swami originally hailed from Karnataka. He is the son of D.V. Gundappa or DVG. He worked as the principal of the Presidency College, famous Presidency College in Madras. And Dr. Swami was also an eyewitness to this whole era, this ascent of this ideology. He was also an eyewitness to the era and was also a victim of Dravidian hooliganism in various forms. In an essay of Dr. Swami, he wrote this in Kannada. It is titled Mangamaya Kale, meaning the art of making things disappear. And in that essay, he narrates an interesting episode about Robert Caldwell and his theories, and I quote from that essay. Caldwell's book was first published in 1856. Its second edition saw light in 1857. The year is important. You see how these things, how that period was a great era of hectic activity. 1857, as you all know, was the year in which the First War of Indian Independence began. So, Caldwell's book saw its second edition in 1857. It contained an elaborate preface running up to 154 pages in a book totaling up to 608 pages. In the year 1936, the Madras University published an abridged version of this book in which several parts of the original preface by Caldwell were deleted. The Dravidianists are smart, says Dr. Swami. The Dravidianists are smart. If someone shows them evidence that goes against their ideology, they ensure that all such evidence vanishes without a trace, vanishes completely and vanishes forever. They have also ensured that the first and second editions of Caldwell's book have disappeared in order to protect the current and the future generations of innocent Tamils from being corrupted. After the abridged editions were published, all copies of Caldwell's original have disappeared from our libraries. In the rare event that someone actually finds a copy of the original, the person finds that the pages of the original preface have disappeared. In some libraries, the unnecessary pages of the said preface have been blackened with ink. I ordered a copy of the microfilm of Caldwell's first and second editions from the British Museum Library and showed the relevant portions to some Dravidian scholars. They immediately claimed that I had doctored the pages, but I did not let the matter go easily. I wrote to the museum officials and asked them to post the enlarged photos of the relevant pages directly to these scholars. The following was a response of these scholars. You are a very tough man. You have managed to fool even the officials of the museum. Close quote. This is what Dr. Swami, narrates his, interactions and real life experiences with these various Dravidian scholars and ideologues working in universities and, other places. But then there is an even deeper reason why Caldwell's observations in his original preface pushed all these Dravidian champions into such a heightened state of panic. To understand this phenomenon, let's take a look at another Dravidian scholar. I have mentioned his name already, P. Sundaram Pillai. In his book titled The Basic Element in Hindu Civilization, Pillai actually claims that from a cultural standpoint, Tamil was a self-born language and it never borrowed from nor was influenced by other cultures and languages. He further claimed that it was most definitely not influenced either by Sanskrit language or what he claims is the Aryan art or culture. According to Pillai, everything in Tamil heritage that can be traced back to Sanskrit and the Sanatana heritage is basically an ignorant claim. And according to him, Vedanta and the Arya culture are of Tamil or Dravidian origin, which was later appropriated and swallowed by the evil Aryans invading from North India. Next, we have another Dravidian scholar named V. Kanakasabhai. In the year 1904, Kanakasabhai wrote something which is truly mind-boggling in a book titled The Tamils 1800 Years Ago. And in that book, he claims that he had a revelation that the most ancient works in Tamil must have been composed more than 2000 years ago. But then, as usual, this alleged scholar fails to mention even the slightest shred of evidence or the source of his fantastic revelation, which can only be, politely called a fertile imagination or fantasy. Needless to say, the common thread that underscores, that binds a thick corpus of all such motivated Dravidian scholars is the foundation provided, once again, by Bishop Robert Caldwell. And this huge mass of fantastic Dravidian theoretical nonsense had outlandish, ridiculous, and amusing consequences in real life. We look at a few examples of how this kind of theorizing, dry theorizing, when applied to real life, what happens. The first example involves a bunch of Dravidian ideologues who desperately wanted to prove that even plants and animals in Tamil Nadu follow the Dravidian ideology. Plants and animals. Dravidian jasmine, Dravidian banana, Dravidian eggplant or brinjal, Dravidian tulsi, Dravidian lion, Dravidian goat, Dravidian horse, Dravidian cow, Dravidian ox, or Dravidian, and the word Dravidian and Tamil can be used interchangeably basically. So they actually believed in these things. So before I come to this story, we look at another interesting story which was once again recounted by Dr. B.G.L. Swami, and here is a small sample of the kind of topics for which PhD degrees were awarded at the university level in those days. Here are some topics, sample them. Boys in the Sangam age, girls in the Sangam age, children in the Sangam age, infants in the Sangam age. The Sangam age, boys. The Sangam age, girls. Okay, the list is, maybe in another short video I'll dig out the complete list of such topics for which doctoral degrees were awarded. And another hilarious aspect related to this. If the Tamil language department in a university or college published a PhD thesis which was titled as Tamils in the Sangam age, the history department of the same university or college would also publish a thesis which was titled the Sangam age Tamils. These are all available. I mean, those who are interested can dig out the archives in all those universities, especially Madras University. You will find, tons of such gems of, unbounded Dravidian nonsense. If this was not enough, a record-breaking 22 PhD degrees were awarded for the same topic. And all these theses reached the same conclusion, which was, the conclusion was to fix the date of the Shilapadikaram, which is a classical Tamil literary work. All these 22 doctoral theses fix the date of Shilapadikaram at the 2nd century CE or Common Era. Now, I will come to the story of the Dravidian plants and animals that I just mentioned. So, one day, Dr. B.G.L. Swami was, sitting at his desk, working, and then one university official visited him. He approached him with a request to write an essay titled Tamil Plant Life, because Dr. B.G.L. Swami was an internationally acclaimed scholar and scientist of botany. So this Dravidian official, university official, asked Dr. Swami to write an essay on something called Tamil plant life. This essay was supposed to be included in the Tamil Nadu government's 10-volume series depicting the authentic account of Tamil Nadu's history or Tamil history. And the first volume in this series was published in 1975, which is titled Tamil Nadu Varalaru. Varalaru means history. Dr. Swami was obviously dumbfounded at this university official's request. And, controlling his laughter and his anger, he politely told this official that, look, sir, there is no such thing as a Telugu plant life or a Kannada animal life or a Tamil plant life or a Tamil animal life. But this official was thoroughly adamant and he simply refused to be convinced, and he replied to Dr. Swami, so, Dr. Swami, do you really mean to say that there is no unique Tamil plant life and animal life like there is a unique and independent Tamil identity which stands on its own? This guy, a senior university official and academic no less, this guy was seriously asking such a question. Think about it, and in fact, when we fully investigate the history of that period between the 1940s to 1970s, when this ideologically backed Dravidian political power was at its peak, when we fully investigate the history of this period, we can find hundreds, if not thousands, of such real life examples like that university guy. And all these examples point to the same conclusion, that is, the causes and the disastrous, the deadly consequences of a thoroughly identity-centric and a separatist ideology which captures political power and state power. And one such deadly consequence of Dravidianism is the fact that the Christian evangelical juggernaut became the biggest and the most substantial beneficiary of Dravidianism in Tamil Nadu. Over the decades, the church has cunningly used the Aryan versus Dravidian theory, the Tamil versus the non-Tamil, the Brahmin versus the non-Brahmin fault lines to systematically infiltrate various institutions and to steadily gain converts and foot soldiers for Christianity. And so, when we notice today that an ideological Iyengar and an alleged Carnatic music singer like T.M. Krishna, how he has willingly, easily become the useful idiot of the church and the Dravidian ideology, the roots of this phenomenon, the roots of this transformation and all its hydra-headed tentacles are clearly evident. This phenomenon of someone like T.M. Krishna is the outcome of a long, deep, sustained, systematic and generational investment done by the Christian missionaries. According to the 2011 census, Christians formed 46.85% in Kanyakumari, which was the highest in the state, and I'm sure that that number has only increased in the last 14 years. If this was not enough, vast tracts of lands along coastal Tamil Nadu are now Christian, and Tamil Nadu also received massive amounts of foreign funding through the FCRA route for Christian evangelical activity. The absolute grip of evangelists over Tamil Nadu politics, especially the DMK politics, can also be observed in its destructive role in fueling the Kudankulam protests in early 2012 by using its vast, opaque and impenetrable global networks and front NGOs. And even more alarmingly, the dark saga of shutting down the Sterlite copper factory in Thoothukudi has ripped the mask over the role of the church in instigating, fomenting, and unleashing violence openly on the Indian soil. And in this case, in the case of Sterlite Copper, it is almost as if the church and the global evangelical machinery has thrown a direct challenge to the Indian state. The message of the church is crystal clear. It says basically that we will provoke and we will wage frequent wars all across India at a place and time of our choosing. This is a clear message. Indeed, Bishop Robert Caldwell would have been an extremely happy man had he been alive today. If this was not enough, all the Asuric forces that the Dravidian ideology has unleashed for more than a century have inflicted great harm on the Tamil Hindu society, especially the Tamil Hindu society. The promised dream of social justice, freedom from oppression, and the great purity of the Tamil language and the Dravidian culture, all these promises continue to evade and elude the Tamil people simply because these promises were never meant to be kept at the outset. It's as simple, as clear as that. On the contrary, the poisonous embrace of Dravidianism has proved to be akin to using an axe to get rid of a wound on your palm. Similarly, the search for an illusory pure Dravidian or a pure Tamil identity is like peeling off layer after layer after layer of an onion until nothing remains finally. But at the end of all this peeling, one is left with nothing but tears that the onion gives. And on that rather pensive note, we can conclude this episode, and I sincerely hope that all of you have found this podcast useful. And as always, please do like our episode, subscribe to the Dharma Dispatch YouTube channel, share our work, and consider making a contribution that you're comfortable with so that we can continue to offer more such informative, insightful, and in many cases very rare episodes from our history, culture, and civilization, and help us to combat the forces that are hostile and inimical to Sanatana Dharma. Namaste. Vande Mataram.